Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about the architecture of human capital. You know, think about building a massive skyscraper. You'd never just throw a bunch of steel and glass together and, just hope it stays up, right? Absolutely not. You need a rock-solid blueprint, you need a foundation, you absolutely have to know exactly where your stress points are. Well, building a highly successful team works exactly the same way. But before we even start drawing up those blueprints, I want you to ask yourself, why is keeping top talent so incredibly difficult? I mean, we've all been there, right? A star employee just up and walks out the door. Or maybe a brilliant new hire just doesn't mesh with the group at all. You spend this immense amount of energy finding great people, yet keeping them around, it kind of feels like trying to hold water in your bare hands. And the answer to why it's so tough usually comes down to how your organizational structure is built from the ground up. Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, what is talent management? Building the foundation. At its core, talent management is really just focusing on attracting, integrating, developing, and retaining skilled employees to hit your current and future goals. And listen, it's not just a fancy corporate buzzword for hiring. Think of it more as the structural bridge that connects your day-to-day operations right now to those big future goals you're aiming for. It requires continuous, intentional engineering. So the crucial point is that there are 4 load-bearing pillars to this whole foundation. First up, attracting skilled employees to the site. Then you've got to actively integrate them into the team. Once they're settled in, you focus on developing their capabilities, essentially reinforcing them, and finally, retaining them for the long term. If you ignore literally any one of these 4 pillars, your entire architecture is going to become unstable pretty fast. Let's move to section 2 and see how this builds. The structural challenges, identifying the stress points. Just like every physical structure faces environmental stress, right? Well, for human capital, that primary stress is this constant state of tension. Now, what's really interesting about this is weighing the immense challenge of attracting quality candidates against the ongoing battle to retain the top talent you already have. It's a super delicate balancing act. If you pour all your resources just into bringing new people in, you end up creating a revolving door. But if you only focus inward, the organization just stagnates. But hey, the structural stresses don't just end at recruitment. Think about your own organization for a second. Actually identifying your true high performers, that requires some really keen observation. Honestly, it's rarely just the loudest person in the room. And once you do spot them, keeping those employees genuinely engaged is absolutely vital. An unengaged employee is kind of like a load-bearing wall slowly degrading from the inside out. I mean, it might look perfectly fine on the surface, but it's definitely not going to support the weight when things get heavy. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate friction point, optimizing compensation. Balancing the financial realities of your budget while keeping top talent financially satisfied requires some rigorous, constant calculation. I mean, pay too little and they walk right out the door. Overpay and you completely warp the structural budget of the whole company. It is tough. Which brings us to section 3. The blueprint for strategy, executing the architectural plans. Actually executing this strategy happens in a really cool self-reinforcing flow. Step 1 is the front door, recognizing, attracting, and selecting the right people. Now, if you nail step 1, step 2, retaining talent, becomes incredibly natural because you've already aligned their skills with your goals from the get-go. And that solid retention organically fuels step 3, which is managing succession. By doing this, you're effectively building your future leaders from within, creating this beautiful, seamless cycle. Now, enveloping all of these steps is one massive, overarching strategy: shaping culture. Think of culture as the structural integrity that holds the entire framework together. It is the invisible force that either totally supports or completely undermines everything we just talked about. I mean, actually, let's be real. You can have elite selection processes and top-tier compensation, but if your culture is toxic, the structural integrity of your human capital is going to collapse. No question. So this brings us to a final, pretty pivotal question to leave you with. Are you consciously shaping your culture, or is your culture passively shaping your talent? Because if you aren't the active architect of your workplace dynamics, trust me, the environment is going to build itself, and it likely won't be a structure designed to last. So take a really hard look at your blueprint today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep building.